Alrighty then. We're gonna get this show on the road. Apologies, I meant to start 5 minutes a little ahead, but apparently that wasn't the case. Hold on. These people are waiting. Oh, sorry. I was trying to post something. I was trying to fix some shit in the background. It didn't work out as well. Fuck you. Damn, chill, dog. Holy shit. Whoa. Fuck you, take name. Damn, chill. Hold on. Give me a second. There we go. Alright, cool. Damn, yeah, chill. Sorry, I was setting up something in the background. I usually take a couple of minutes to, to set up shit and whatnot. Oh, alright. I still need to check the TikTok. I don't think the TikTok is... No, the TikTok is live. The TikTok should be live. I don't know why it's not wanting to be live. I don't know if it's the app. You know what? Might have gone live before. I might have gone live before the app happened. So let me go. Let me.
Get too greedy.
Let me check real quick. Let me make sure of that. No, it doesn't say the TikTok is live. Does it say TikTok is live? No, don't log out. Don't log out of TikTok. Okay, I don't know if TikTok is live. It usually is, but honestly, I've already started this enough, and I can't really afford to start it up. I can't really afford to start it up again. So, let's go ahead and talk about the current the podcast that we're doing. First of all, hello, welcome to episode 0 of what used to be called the Anime Cavalcade, but we're now calling it the Manga Cavalcade because I'm not gonna lie, before I was doing a lot of discussions around things like, when it came to things like Jujutsu Kaisen, not Jujutsu, no, I was talking about a lot of anime stuff, right? Beforehand. So this is going to be the new podcast where we're going to be talking about manga and other manga related stuff. So I'm very excited for that. And I'm also very excited to start this new podcast journey, which I hope goes well. And so for this pilot episode, we're going to do something that's pretty big. We're going to do something that's pretty big, and we're going to do something that's pretty intense. Not intense, but I think there's a lot to discuss about it, right? And I think it is good to address that. And the first ever thing that we're going to talk about during this new version of the podcast is, in fact, JJK Modulo, I think it's called. I've heard Modulo or Modulo. I've heard both, but I'm not 100% sure. But we are doing JJK Modulo. Now, I was debating whether I wanted to do this first because it's such a big topic, and I didn't know if I wanted to do it for like the first episode. And it also only has like 2 chapters. But I think what we could do, and what I think the best way to approach this is, I want to talk about kind of the whole last arc of JJK itself, talk about where JJK left a lot of the community, the way that I view it, and me also as a whole person, and kind of just discuss exactly just what the fuck happened with JJK and what this like whole new thing means, and what like I feel like people were expecting from it, what I was expecting from it, and what we've gotten from it so far. So the first part of this is going to be talking about kind of where we got left at JJK for. So, as you all know, also I should also give major spoiler warnings because the JJK anime is not finished and the other stuff for JJK is not finished. So, if you have not started JJK, if you are an anime watcher of JJK, do not go, like everything I'm going to say right now is massive fucking spoilers. Extreme spoilers. Mega spoilers. Like like mega extreme spoilers. So if you don't want to know what is going to happen in this episode, I suggest you click off. Which is crazy for a first episode, but I do want to be responsible in that sense and saying, if you are an anime only watcher for JJK, or if you haven't started JJK yet in anime or manga form, and you haven't read and you don't know anything that's happened in the manga past the Shibuya incident, and you don't know anything about like the previous arcs and what happens with certain characters, and if you don't know anything about what's happened in the new spin-off series, do not watch this. This is your final warning. And so from here on out, it's going to be spoiler territory, 100%. So now that I've done that, now that I've done my due diligence, now that I've done the actual proper manner of things, let's go ahead and let's talk about first kind of where JJK left. Where I think it left a lot of the entire community as a whole, right? So the last arc for JJK was the Shinjuku Junction, I think it's called, and this was like the big fight with Sukuna, the big fight with Gojo, the big fight with like just everybody, right? It was the big fight with everybody. It was the big fight with all of us, like where it was the final battle. Like if our team didn't stop Sukuna here, we're all fucked, 100% fucked. And so I think with the Shinjuku Junction, you can break it into three aspects, I feel like. One, well, three or four, depending on how you view it. One is the Gojo and Sukuna fight, right? That's one whole part. Arguably, you could also argue that itself is just its own separate arc. Which I if someone were to say that, I don't think I'd be like too upset with that, right? Because it's like there's a lot that happens. There's a lot from the previous time with the training and how they approach stuff. So if you wanted to call Gojo and Sukuna its own arc, I wouldn't blame you, and I wouldn't like really question it, for being honest. That's kind of like, oh, okay, I see where you're coming from. There's a lot of information, a lot of stuff happens, yada yada yada. Then we have the initial jumping of Sukuna after the Gojo fight, because Gojo ends up dying in that one. So that happens, and so we have like our initial big fighters, right? We have the cursed user that used the lightning. I'm sorry, it's been a while since I've read the manga, so I'm not gonna know names, right? But like we have our initial fighters that come in. Obviously, the lightning user wants to go first. Hikari is taking care of the little servant boy that Sukuna has, which we'll talk about that. And like that first fight, we got the lawyer Higuruma. Oh my god, Higurashi. Oh my god, I forget his name. But the lawyer, we got Joji, we got Yuji, we got like the main core of people, right? And from the Gojo Sukuna fight to this point, I think that arc was fantastic, right? That was like, yes, we're getting into the shit, we're getting the big fight, we got the results of the big fight, and now we're going into the jumping. That shit was good. It got dramatic. We saw people basically go all out with their shit. We have like people dying. That's good. I like that. Like everything from that first half of that arc is fucking awesome. I loved everything about that arc, and I loved everything that arc provided. It was good. It was great. It was like that arc. I think people they can argue about it, but I think it is safe to say that arc is peak Jujutsu Kaisen. That point of that arc is 100% peak Jujutsu Kaisen. For everything it does, for everything it like performs with, like that shit is peak Jujutsu Kaisen and everything it does. 100% to a T. Then, after like Maki's been dealt with, when Yuji kind of has to recover still, Chojo? I think it's Shoujo, but like we have like our the main crew kind of having to recover, and that's when we got the Kusakabe and Miguel and those people kind of come through. Now, I don't hate that. I did initially, right? And I don't necessarily hate how they went about that. It's just, for me, when I look back at that part where we have Kusakabe fighting Sukuna, we have Miguel fighting Sukuna, we have the guy with the heart nipples fighting Sukuna. I think a lot of people, especially me, and everyone I've talked to, kind of just agree that portion of JJK was not necessarily great. It wasn't like necessarily bad, but compared to everything we got before, oh man, like it was a downgrade from what we got. This felt like this should have been somewhere in the beginning to build up to that stuff, maybe as like a, oh no, you know, shit happens. Hey guys, you need to buy us some time before we can actually officially jump into shit. Which is kind of the case. I just think that putting it in the middle like this was just kind of... I feel like haphazard is also the wrong word either. It just wasn't the right pace. It really wasn't. It wasn't the right pace. It wasn't like... It just wasn't proper. For me, looking back at it, it wasn't really something that was proper. And then, after all that's kind of done and it feels like Sukuna's coming back, then we have the portion where it's mostly Yuji and Todo. And this is like the typical... This is typical with like the big fights in JJK, where it's everything happens, it seems like all is going lost, and then we have Yuji and Todo being like some of the best duos in the game, coming out and just killing shit, doing the best that they can, rocket shit, doing shit. JoJo's new like thing is super cool. Everything like that revamped me. There was still some loss in terms of energy of what I felt, and in terms of like how I really wanted things to interact with each other. But in terms of going hard, in terms of like what JJK was supposed to do, oh dude, that the Todo and Yuji's part honestly was super lame. I think at this point, the binding vows were getting kind of cheap. Like, we never got a really solid explanation, I feel, on how the binding vows were supposed to work. But honestly, given how good the quality was, and given how good everything else is, and how hard shit was, I could forgive it. I could forgive a good, big-ass, actual chunk of it, right? Now, oh no, sorry, no, I was gonna say there was I was gonna say that there was a different point that I was gonna make. Also, give me a second. Okay, we're good. I thought something was happening, but we're good. No. All right. So yeah, big chunk of the shit was happening. All of this shit was going down, and so like that leads into the whole thing with Angel. And her using Jacob's ladder on Sukuna still able to recover. And then we get into the whole thing with Yuji and all that with his domain and what he does in that, and dealing kind of the final blow to Sukuna. So from like Todo and Yuji's point, it's kind of the end. It's kind of the end. And if we left it there, I feel like overall, we would have been fine. Not left it there. If we ended there, it'd be kind of shit. But I think leaving there was still kind of like a little bit of... There was still a little bit of skepticism. But like, I personally was on the up and up. I think a lot of people were like, oh, cool, we beat Sukuna. We got Yuji's domain. The next couple of chapters, we're going to kind of figure out stuff. And a big part of that arc as well was the fact that Yuta took over Gojo's body, because he took over the power that oh my god, I forget his name. I should remember his name because he was partners with Sukuna during the Culling Games. What is that called? What was his name? Kenjaku. There we go. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. So Yuta had Kenjaku's powers. He used Kenjaku's powers to take over Gojo. Now he didn't have... I think he had his limitless curse technique, but he didn't have 6 eyes, because 6 eyes died with Gojo. That's something you just can't inherit. That's something you're born with from your soul, and once you die, it just dies. It's not necessarily tied to the actual person. So Gojo is being controlled by Yuta, and we didn't really know the outcome because the body failed halfway through the fight. Until the end of that fight, we're going in trying to figure out, because like after the fight, the next panel, the last thing we're left off on is, oh, we all still need to figure out the state of Yuta. And it left us in this big point of, oh shit, is Yuta gonna die? What does that mean for the world? Because once you lost Gojo and once you lost Yuta, like, you still have strong sorcerers, but those are like, you just lost 2 special grade sorcerers. Like, that is insane. It is insane to do. And it's just kind of like, ugh, what kind of happens to the world now? Does it, like, well, at what state does the world go to? And so I was I was very intrigued. But this also goes into what I think the last part of the manga which is the epilogue, which, for lack of a better term, it just pissed me off. I'm going to be completely honest. The last epilogue for JJK just made me upset. Because I feel like everything that we could have gotten in terms of lore, and like if they did just an info dump for stuff of like, if we found out what Yuji's domain was, if we found out what truly happened with Yuta, and like all this stuff, and the effects, and yada yada yada, it felt like they kind of just reversed certain things from happening. And there's certain things that I like, yeah, that makes sense, but also what was the point? Like, my biggest thing for this was Higuruma being alive. Now, I've given a lot of shit for certain anime faking, faking death for certain characters. And some animes, they do it where it's like, oh, there's a hint of possibility, there's a hint of this, there's a hint of that. But there's also a chance that, like, not a chance, but there's also anime that I've given shit for recently that have done that, and have done it in such a way that if they were to come alive, it's like, okay, well, why did we make it this dramatic? Why did we make it this big? Why did we make it this insane, like, plot point that you were trying to do? Like, do you not see the actual issue here when it comes to, all of that just being reversed, being undone? And so with Higuruma's death, in like that second part where everyone's jumping Sukuna for the first time, Higuruma looks like he's dead. They play him off like he's dead, like just straight up. But he then comes back and all he has is a broken arm. Which, yeah, they had the doctor that was part of Gojo and like, oh my god, I'm forgetting all the big names, but part of Gojo's old crew back in high school, where she was able to use reverse curse energy on other people, and it's not as effective. But my problem is, you set this death up to be so glamorous and big. Like, it felt like a proper send-off for Higuruma. So seeing him back felt kind of shit. Yuji's arms, that everyone speculated were just a residual power left over from Sukuna being inside of him, were just curse tools. Yuta's just fine. There's no repercussion, there's no punishment, there's no actual anything, even though they set up this whole backflash of like 2 chapters where they go over the fact that, like, hey Yuta, you probably shouldn't do this because we don't know the effects of what can actually happen or if you can use it properly, and going on this whole monologue of like, look, Gojo sacrificed himself for us, so it kind of only makes sense if we try to do the same. And so I like, there's no real punishment. Pandas looks like he's just fine, and like then we get a whole dialogue for the clans and how like the new Stato Shao was a technique that like sorcerers can learn, but if they learn, they kind of have to pledge their allegiance to a clan, and it's all like really messed up because it's led by these like terrible heads of the clan. And we have oh my god, was it Mai Mai? I think the name was Mai Mai. But we have Mai Mai going in in like eliminating a head of a clan that's supposed to spark off a 3-clan war. And then, so there's certain things that set up that are cool, but there's other certain things that are reversed that are bad. And so what it felt like was, even though we got the announcement for the ending of JJK, this felt like it was setting up a spin-off of like the 3 clans. And it's like, okay, well, it'll probably follow more of Maki, Yuta, and Fuguroshi. Where it's like, okay, Maki's part of the Zenin clan, Yuta technically is part of the Zenin clan. No, it's part of the Gojo clan. And then like Fuguroshi's part of the Zenin clan through like the same way like Yuta is, just by family connections. So it's like, okay, well, oh my god, wow. Nobara isn't part of a clan. Yuji really isn't part of a clan. Gojo's kind of gone. So it's kind of the thing of just like, oh, so we're going to follow this power vacuum that's been created because now Gojo's gone. So now that puts the Gojo clan in some like weird state, and it's this whole like thing that's going on and stuff like that. And we do get a little bit of like an epilogue after everything, like an epilogue before the epilogue after the ending of everything we get, because the ending is just everything. Also, I don't know whenever I'm gonna say this again, so I need to kind of just go on a rant about this before I continue. Sorry, I've been all over the place. Why in God's name in heaven did we not get anything to do with Hikari and the Ice Curse user, one of Sukuna's henchmen? That makes actually no like logical sense to me, because we only got like 2 snippets. I don't even think there were full chapters. I think we got the beginning where Hikari has to come in to prevent the ice user from interfering with like Sukuna's fights, and then we have like a little snippet of them going through the town and like the ice user realizing of like, ah shit, yeah, I can freeze him and try to slow him down, but his curse energy is just gonna keep going. And then we do get another part, but at the very end of the fight, where we see that like they're fighting on the ocean and like half of the like on like a lake, and half of the lake is gone. We don't get anything. Like this is one of my problem with the part with Kusakabe and Miguel, where those guys were like fighting Sukuna, right? If I'm going to be completely brutally honest, you didn't have to focus on them. Kusakabe, they kind of set him up, and it would have been nice to see him actually use like the domain properly, because everyone was hyping up Kusakabe in the manga, like not fans, but like people in the actual manga, about how Kusakabe is lit as shit, and how like, oh yeah, he's underrated, like yeah, he's a semi first grade, but like that's by his choice because he doesn't want to go up to the proper first grade. And everyone was hyping up Kusakabe like he was this like fire like curse user, and then he kind of doesn't do much. And that's the only person I would keep, just because you hyped him up. So fair, we got to show him off somewhat. But dude, that was such a waste. Like, just spend those next chapters going over the Hikari fight, because that would have kept the momentum. I actually think that I would not feel as completely robbed if I just at least got the Hikari fight, because like I feel like that part, because we got the Gojo Sukuna fight that really hyped us up, and then everyone jumps in at the second part, which really hyped us up, and then I swear to God, that interaction with Kusakabe and Miguel and the other curse users that like are strong but not as strong as the other people that we see fight Sukuna, just dipped back so down that it was such a challenge once we got Yuji and Toto entering to actually climb back up. And then after that, it would have gone down regardless. I just think I wouldn't be so visceral about it, about just how everything ended, versus like where I would have been like, oh my god, this what the hell happened, to like, damn, that's kind of shit. I still enjoyed myself in that last arc, just, you know, a little epilogue kind of was like whatever. It's like I kind of reversed some stuff, but overall it was still like a good fight. Can't wait for it to be animated, can't wait to see it out in theaters, yada 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 and stuff like that. And so like I'm sitting here thinking to myself, just like what in God's name, right? What in God's name is all of this shit? even in the epilogue, we barely get like any type of burial for Gojo. And like, Gege is not escaping the allegations. That man just hates Gojo through and through. He's gotta. There's no doubt in my mind that that man Gege just despises that man Gojo to a disgusting degree. Like, I don't even know how you would convince me that he doesn't do that, given how he gives the treatment of Gojo, being jumped, getting like. Okay, no, I actually like how he uses Gojo in like the last arc, but everything in the epilogue and not giving him a proper burial and just making his death like inconsequential, which you can argue is the point because everyone in Jujutsu Sorcery World kind of didn't like Gojo apart from people in Jujutsu High, and even then there are people in Jujutsu High that did not like Gojo. So there was one of the things where it's like, okay, I can maybe see that argument, but like, it's not like that he didn't have people that did care about him. Yuta cared about him a lot. Like, his students cared about him a lot. He had people that cared. Like, damn it, man. So, you could tell, I've been talking about a lot about this, but it is important to go into this new spin-off of JJK Modulo to just kind of understand where my mind is right now with everything. Because when I heard that this was coming out, I genuinely didn't know how to feel. Like, if like at one time, I would have been so excited. I would have been like, hey, let's fucking go. Let's do this shit. We're getting more JJK content. And it was just kind of one of those things where it's just like, okay, cool. We're getting more JJK content. Maybe it's the 3 clan like spin-off that I assumed that we thought we were having, even though that wasn't really the case. Like, I thought it was going to be somewhere between where Yuta and Maki were going through all their stuff. Like, I was doing a little bit of speculation. I wasn't excited, but I was curious, especially since Gege kind of left the whole fan base in the sense that it didn't feel like he wanted, well, I didn't say feel, he quite literally said there will be no more JJK content coming out. And maybe it's because he didn't want to do the writing again. That could completely be the case. Gege might have not wanted to just continue that story and might want to create a new story, but within that world, which is totally possible. I can like 100% see that reasoning. So like, I wasn't against the new JJK series because I still like the world. I still like the majority of the manga. Like, I don't even think I'd put it, like, I think I'd put it down to like an 8.5, maybe an 8, depending on how I feel about it. But I don't hate JJK. I just hate its ending. Like, I still love Shinjuku, I still love the majority of Shinjuku passing. I still love the Culling Games. I still love the Shibuya incident. I love the previous arcs. I love the anime. I love all the material that comes out for it. I think its power system is really cool. I think it kind of helps set this weird established thing for power systems where it's like, oh, like we actually like other worlds have it, but I feel like the power scaling community for anime kind of uses the JJK power system now, where it's like the special grade, all that, or at least at a certain time that was the case. Now, I don't know as much. I don't think they do as much. But at one point, I do feel like there was a point where we were doing that. But I don't think that's happening anymore, or not as frequently as it is. I think a lot of people in the power scaling community have now gone away more towards the back to like the, oh, your country level, your city level, your mountain level, all that stuff. So, all that aside, I was kind of left in a state where I still like JJK as a property, but I was definitely not happy with the story. And it came at an interesting time because there were so many other places that were having their own bad endings. I know not many people like the My Hero Academia ending. I know people were confused with the Kaiju number 8 ending. I know people, I think Oshinoko was the ending. Everyone was like, what the fuck is this? Rent-A-Girlfriend still Rent-A-Girlfriend, so it's trash. So like, there's a lot, man. There's a lot here for for me to digest with everything. Oh, is it live? Oh no, we are live. Okay, my apology. Oh no, that's not it. That's not it. Okay, so we're not live. God damn it. All right, whatever. So when I went into this, I kind of already heard things that were happening for JJK Modulo. And the first thing I heard about, which I just sat there and I'm like, okay, I mean, I guess doesn't fucking matter, but whatever, is that there were aliens. And obviously, people right off the jump were comparing it to Boruto, where it's just like, oh my fucking god, it has to do with aliens and it's a JJK spinoff. We're just gonna get fucking Boruto so badly. We're gonna get the bad. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't think I'd ever be in a Boruto situation where it's like honestly, kind of not one for one, but it's very similar. Where it's like it's the next generation, somewhat. It's somewhat the next generation, and we get like all this stuff about aliens and. Like, you know, the characters that we follow are following in the footsteps of their relatives that they're related to, who are, like, extremely far stronger than them at some point and might get stronger. And so, like, when you do a story like that, it's so hard to do. Now, the one thing I will say that Gege is smart for doing is, I think Gege was smart for doing, I think Gege is smart for not having the relatives be in this. I think that was a really smart decision. Because one thing I think that Boruto kind of fucked up on is having people like Naruto and Hinata and Sakura, Sasuke, like the people that we knew from Naruto being prevalent characters in Boruto. Now, I'm not saying you can't do that, but when you do that, it does kind of, it's kind of like an uphill battle, right? Where now you have the whole old cast comparing to the new cast, and they're gonna constantly be compared. They're already gonna constantly be compared to the old cast because they live in their world and they're their relatives. But now we see where the old cast is compared to the new cast, and they sit there and they're like, oh, well, this dude is so not like him, and he's not like that. Naruto's way stronger than Boruto. I don't even know why people would compare it, blah, blah, blah. And the thing that people need to forget is these are different characters. You can't compare them because they grew up in different circumstances. Obviously, in the world of JJK Modulo, like, it's not like previously stated exactly what I would say, but they do mention the fact that there's not really a sorcerer in this time that is as strong as Gojo or even as strong as Yuji. And not to say Yuji is weak, but Yuji, by the end of the series, was in fact a special grade. Like, he was a special grade core sorcerer to the T, and I don't think there's any debate on that fact whatsoever. So, like, and to be fair, you don't have to be that level of strong to be considered a special grade, but it's implied that it is heavily implied that there probably isn't really a special grade, right? Like, there still might be someone as strong as oh my god, why am I forgetting his name? Gojo's friend. Why am I forgetting his name? I shouldn't, because he's extremely popular and he's extremely big. And he gets so much fan art, and he's super popular. Like, I should not forget him, and I'm trying to find his name, and I don't know what it was. Ghetto. Jesus Christ. I apologize. Listen, this is gonna look so bad, but I promise you, I know my shit. It's just I fucked up. But there might be someone as strong as Ghetto. There might be somebody like as strong as Yuta. There might be someone as strong as the blonde girl. Like, there are still some special grades that are maybe as strong as them. There's just not somebody as strong as Gojo, and there's nobody as strong as Yuji. But I think that does imply potentially that special grades curse users or sorcerers don't really exist anymore, or at least like there's not really one. Like Yuta might have been the only special grade that was left, and hell, Maki at that point might have also been considered special grade. The problem is, I don't know if at their old age they would have been considered that, obviously because of degradation. But I think it is good that even though that there is the lack of that, the world kind of reset for them. And I think I appreciate the approach that Gege does go with that, where it's like, okay, there's not really a special grade, there is a Sukuna level threat, but there's not somebody that is as strong as Gojo that everyone can just kind of rely on. And I don't know if that was a choice of him trying to give the characters an actual chance to flourish and actually be themselves, or if this was an example of Gege just not wanting to deal with special grades. Which, if I'm being honest, I could kind of see that, of not wanting to deal with any more special grades anymore. Because, like, the amount of things where it's like, oh, well, it's a special grade, right? They could just deal with it. It's like, yeah, the world of the Jujutsu sorcerers does definitely revolve a lot around special grades when special grades exist. So when you don't have special grades that exist, you don't have that revolving world around them. Now, I think, depending on how much he does for this, I think we will get to the point where our main characters for this, Yuka and Tasokare, I think his name is. I think that's how you say it at the very least. But Yuta and Tasokare, I think you'll get to a point where that will happen, where by the end of this, they might be as strong as special grades. And they might have to be, because the aliens that come by, apparently they're as strong as Sukuna back in the day. So it's one of those things where it's like, oh, by the time you have to potentially fight these people, you better be a special grade, because if you're not a special grade, then you will be fucked. You will be completely and utterly fucked, and you will have nothing that you can do about it. So I do hope that we're able to, figure that out at some point. Maybe get a little bit of figure? Is that no? Get a little bit of that path. But other than that, let's talk about like the actual stuff that's in the manga. So, like I said before, we have the main characters for this. Yuka. Oh, that's going to kill me. Yuka and Tasokare, who are the grandchildren of Yuta and Maki. So, and also, even though, again, we don't want to use previous generations, we have not seen the parents. I'd at least like to see a glimpse of Yuta and Maki's children. Not their grandchildren, but their actual children. Just to see how they are. I would personally like to. I think we already technically seen the mother, which is the one that gave the ring that Yuta gave to Yuka, and then they took the ring and gave it to Tasokare. But the first two chapters, what is the best way to describe it? Unfortunately, I think the best thing to say is just, I'm very middling. Like, I definitely see some good in this. I definitely see Modulo as Gege's way of just trying to make a story that fits a lot better with the stuff that he wants to do, or at least wanted to do with JJK. I like the trio that we have right now, where it's the siblings, and then like the alien character Maru. Maru brings a lot of life into the manga. I really like it. I think he's such a lovable character in everything that he does. I love his interactions. I love all the shit that he does. It's genuinely fucking cute as shit. I really like it. What else is there? The story itself, again, I don't know how to feel because the aliens thing, and it kind of depends on how they deal with the aliens, right? Because from the first two chapters, you can obviously see that there is some examples of what like certain aliens to certain characters, right? Like Sukuna kind of looks like them with the multiple eyes and all that stuff. The ambassador for the I was gonna say Sumerians, but I don't think they're called Sumerians. It's Suimarians or something like that. Whatever their complicated that name to say is. Their ambassador that they come with kind of looks like Tengen a little bit. Like it kind of looks like Tengen, but if Tengen was an older type of sorts, like the multiple eyes match, the way that some of them look compared to Sukuna match, the way they look like the Tengen kind of match, which does explain why Tengen and Sukuna look the way they are, but are also probably some of the most powerful like creatures out there. And so like if the aliens are a thing where it's like, oh yeah, we went to go give powers to like certain people and yada yada yada, kind of like an Invincible situation where it's like, no, we send some of our people to go breed with other races to try to make them stronger and sorts. I think my only issue with that is if that was the case, that we would see more sorcerers around the world, and two, if that was also the case, I feel like they wouldn't be at the beginning. It wouldn't feel as shocking to see that there were actually people who have powers similar to them. Now, it could be a situation where that thing is still the same thing, just when it came to them, the aliens giving the powers to humans, specifically in Japan, Tengen, who most likely is that alien, probably went ahead and gave that power to the Japanese people, and it just kind of never expanded out of there because he couldn't expand out to the world. Or he saw that Japan was probably the best place to do it, and giving that power to anybody else would have been bad. As you see in the manga, because now that everyone knows about Jujutsu Kaisen like society, or Jujutsu Kaisen society, Jesus Christ, Jujutsu sorcery society, like Jujutsu society and all that stuff, that now all these Jujutsu sorcerers are like going on the black market for a higher price. There's treaties with the rest of the world about how they should deal with like their powers and dealing with aliens and stuff like that, which also implies that there's aliens previously, so that was at least a bit curious. I like the sibling dynamic as well. I like Yuka and Togurushi's interaction, where both of them have different perspectives of how they look at the situations they're in, where Yuka's like, okay, Grandpa Yuta gave me that ring because they're supposed to be cherished, but the clan looks at me as undeserving of that ring. Well, I'm going to be stronger to prove that. Where Togurushi is gifted the ring, but he never wanted it, but they're just like, we don't care. You're going to have that ring because you're weak. And Togurushi being like, well, I'm going to become strong, so I don't even need this ring. So they're like, while they're both not on the same branch in terms of like, or not in the same wavelength as each other in terms of like seeing each other as weak and strong, where Togurushi is physically strong but doesn't have much curse energy like Maki, and Yuka is a person with a lot of curse energy, but she's not as physically strong like Yuta. So it is kind of one of those things where I'm very interested in seeing that dynamic and how it works and kind of flows, how to kind of flow between each other. If I can make a wild prediction for Modulo, I think it'll be a situation where I think Tsurugi is gonna want to be strong, but because he won't be able to like probably be strong in any sense of the form, I think Tsurugi is gonna either turn or he's gonna be offered something from the aliens that's gonna give him some extra powers. Because something that I've also thought about as well while during this podcast, just two things. One, kind of offset, doesn't really matter, but kind of thought about it. If the transfer of bodies is similar, because the only person we see jumping bodies like that, similar to Sukuna, is Tengen. Because in the arc with Gojo and Geto, where they have to deliver that girl in order to be the new vessel for Tengen. Tengen needs a way of taking over the body and doing that stuff and yada yada yada. So I wonder if these aliens have the same body taking over abilities, where maybe when they come, they'll start taking over certain people and there'll be certain threats. Like that's how we get it. Now they do have physical bodies, so I don't know if we'll get that, but there might be someone who like me might be on the brink of death, or someone that might be too old to fight. That like, hey, Tasokare, Maki, do you guys want me to take over your bodies? You can become one of us if that's the case. And it also makes me kind of lead in to believe that maybe this already happened with everybody else that we see from that alien race, because there's the ambassador that kind of looks that very much looks like Tengen, but doesn't look like a normal human body. But there are other aliens that do look like normal human bodies. So it makes me think if, there are just normal bodies that just naturally look like that and that's what happens, or if it's a situation where they're hopping from planet to planet to planet and it's just like, oh no, like they're not refugees, they're basically a body snatcher type, like not necessarily, I don't even go as far as to say body snatcher, but like a body taking over type stuff, type species that bonds better when, or like can excel when taking over people. And that's why they're so fascinated on the fact that there is a civilization of people that is like similar to the way that they act, where it's like, oh well, if we take over their bodies and we merge with them, then there might actually be a fairly good chance that we just go ahead and we just meld, we just gel with them, which, to be honest, is 100% a possibility. Like this JJK Modulo does leave a lot to be puts a lot on the table of possibilities if you really think about it. And I think that's the most exciting thing to me when it comes to everything. It's like, okay, we are kind of opening the door to like these new theory crafting things, which I personally like and I personally appreciate. What I don't appreciate, however, is us just kind of skipping a whole generation. And like, while we do get some questions answered in the epilogue and some questions answered during the Modulo, during the like this new spin-off, it's kind of one of those things where I'm just like, okay, I don't hate this, but does this mean we're never going to get answers on like what happened during the Three Clan War, or what happened between the 78 years of just Jujutsu Society just not exist? Like, what the hell happened? What changed? Did Yuta and Maki not have much power, which is why their grandchildren kind of got brushed over and be told what to do? Like, are they going to be heads of the clans at some point? Are there other heads of the clans at some point? Are the three clans still united in a sense? Are they no longer like combined? What happened to Mai Mai? What happened to Yuji? What happened to Nobara? Like, we don't even necessarily know those things for a sense, because it's one of those things where it's like, okay, that's fine. If you don't want to know about what happened to them, that's fine. But we should at least get an idea of the last 78 years of like things that might have potentially occurred, because I think it's interesting to know. I think it's nice to have that history. I don't even think you need to do it in here. Maybe just a little, short story compilation of just every big event that's happened in JJK Society. Because you mean to tell me that, like, I mean, we do have implications too, where it's like, oh yeah, we have stuff that happened, like not the JJK stuff, but like we have stuff that happened, like the whatchamacallit. Oh my god, what do we call it again? I'm trying to remember. Oh, like the treaty that happened between Japan and the rest of the world when it came to the aliens and how they operate and stuff like that. I just feel like there's a lot more left on the table, and I think that's why I have a big problem with JJK right now, is because we don't really get an actual proper Like, it's good to have this extra content, but it also feels unsatisfying in a sense, where it's like, okay, yeah, sure, we get this and that, we get the little information, we get all this stuff, but like, what was kind of the point of everything else? What, like, I think I'm just someone that would like to know a little bit more about what happened previously. And I don't hate the fact that we are in the past. I would just, you know, possibly like to know those things. I think it'd be nice. Overall, though, I do think that this is I do like JJK Modulo. I want to hammer that point in, because as somebody who did go and wasn't really super big on the ending and kind of got displaced on my feelings with the show because of the ending, now kind of getting this, I'm not gonna lie, reading it, I got a little bit of that old JJK feeling. And the art, I should also mention as well. The art is something what we would need to talk about, because it's a new artist. Still, the story's being written by Gege still, but it is a new person doing the art. I'm not gonna lie, I think I kind of fuck with the new art a little bit. I kind of like how they design. And when I mean fuck with it, I mean, like, I think I'm preferring this over Gege style. I don't know why, just when I look at the design choices of certain things, I appreciate it. And to be fair, it's not super far off. It's just like little extra things with like the clothing designs and the way that their eyes move, the way that the facial structures are. A lot of the actual world itself is still different, but like certain camera angle choices, certain all this stuff, I think I'm personally fucking with a lot, because I just like how this artist is approaching it. I should probably look this up, because I actually don't know who the current artist is. Because I think that's important to at least get their credit. Who is currently the illustrator for JJK Modulo? That's funny. Yuji Awasaki. Which is funny that both of the creator's name and the main character's name is Yuji, which is funny. But, yeah, dude, JJK... Well, before is there anything else I should think about? Because that's the biggest thing to me. Is there anything else that's really worth addressing? Because, like, I can't really think of anything else off the top of my head that I think is like worth it off of that. I guess I could talk about my hopes. I guess the big thing I could talk about is my hopes for this story and what I hope it does. What I hope for JJK Modulo is, I hope it can it needs to be able to revitalize and recapture the specialness that the JJK manga was. I think it really needs to go back to leaning into like the super heavy lore stuff and the super heavy power system stuff, not to the extent of Shinjuku passing, because I think that was insane that we got huge blocks of people explaining their powers, and I'm like, okay, I understand why we were doing this, and if this gets animated, it's only like a 5-second blurb, but it's also like, oh my god, this is so much to read, can we fucking not do this, please? But I also think it should be able to capture a lot of what made JJK cool, which was like the journey of the main character, going through all that hardship with that. You know what I really hope they do? I think, because with Yuji, it was more of the story of a random person going into Jujutsu Society. And obviously, eventually, we got a little bit past that. It was more of just like the whole thing. And there was a little back and forth between like, you know, the whole thing of like, oh, is Yuji the main character? Or is Yuji the main character? Or, you know, like, Gojo feels like a main character because we follow him so much, and at one point, he quite literally is the main character because, you know, most of the fight is centered around him, and there's a whole arc that's a flashback for him, which does get a lot of context, but that doesn't change the fact that he is the main character of said flashback that is in the show. So, I think the main character focus for JJK was definitely all over the place, where we definitely needed to focus more time on Yuji, which, to be fair, They did that a lot for the Culling Games, and they did do that for a lot of the other shows, but I think where it mattered, they kind of stumbled on that. But what I also am hoping from this, potentially, is I'm hoping that like having these two is going to help get focused a lot more. Because now that we have the two main characters of Yuka and Tsugarushi, and I know Gege likes to bounce around a lot with his character, like with his character stuff. But now that we've established that both Yuka and Tsurugi both have similar journeys and are both basically the main characters, these characters. Yuka is going to go follow the path of Yuta and of Yuta Kotu. And Tsugarushi is going to follow the path of Maki Zenin. So it's going to be their journey for that, and I hope that we get just like a really hard focus on them. Because I feel like we were very loosey-goosey with Yuji, despite us also following him for a while. It didn't also feel like he was completely followed. And I still think Yuji is a good main character. I don't think that takes away from Yuji himself. But it does say a little bit of something when, you know, you try to follow certain people and it doesn't completely go very well, or it doesn't completely, you know, go all the way because of that. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like, yes, I see, we're trying, but we're also, you know, kind of not, because so whoa, hold on. That was I see what happened. That's my fault. So yeah, I am very much hoping that we get that we get a hard focus on the main characters, and we stick with our main characters, and we're able to flesh them out. I am excited to see what Gege does with this. I will admit as well, I think I was more excited for hopefully a new project and something new that he was doing, rather than another JJK thing. Because we're going to get JJK for a little bit, especially with the manga, and where the JJK Modulo stuff is nice to get. But JJ also did express the fact that he wanted to do more other things. That he wanted to like kind of branch out. So I don't know if this is like a change of heart in sense of maybe he also now feels unsatisfied. I don't know what the case is. Maybe he's just like, I don't know where to go, so let me just do another JJK thing and maybe fix all the bullshit that I tried to fix. It could be one of those things, 100%. But I think I just sit there and think about everything. I just really hope it goes well. I really hope it goes well. I really hope that we get a focus to the characters. I really hope it's able to stand on its own as a different property away from the main series of Jujutsu Kaisen. And I do hope that we get some questions answered. I'm not saying we need a ton of questions. I'm not saying we need a lot of questions. I'm not saying you need to go do like a 20 chapter part of going back in time and talking about everything. I just think that getting some answers on how maybe Gojo was treated before, on like the things that happened between the 78 years, we got a little bit of that. How was usually viewed after? Like, we should get some of those answers. I feel like we should get some of those answers. And to be fair, we do get a little bit, because it seems like Yuji was viewed pretty good. Like, once everything was all said and done, he's looked at one of the strongest he's looked at as one of the strongest sorcerers in history, because no one was able to match him yet. So that's gonna be that's nice at the very least. Also, something that I actually kind of didn't realize is that Yuta and Tsugarushi are in fact basically supposed to be Maki and Yuta in sibling form, but also in a sense you could take it in a way where Yuta and Yuka and Tsugiri are kind of probably the idea of what Gege had for Yuji and Yuta. Now that, I will admit, is a bit of a stretch, but like I could see it, right? Where it's like Yuka's the person overflowing with curse energy that can fight and that can like really fight hand-to-hand combat and shit, and doesn't really need that. Her curse technique is quite literally a curse technique that uses a lot of martial arts. Kind of like Yuji, that's just, you know, he's just a brawler type stuff. Doesn't have a technique per se, just beats the fuck out of people. And then you have Yuta, who's like a really sword person. He has the ring right now, so it kind of makes sense. Doesn't use a lot of tools, but like there are fusions. You can also say it's like Yuji and Megumi, but they do like it's pretty spot on the point. It is supposed to be like the pairing for Yuta and Maki, which is it's nice. I like it. I don't completely hate it. Like I said, we can end it on this note. All I want from Jujutsu Kaisen Modulo is to not leave me in a state that I felt after Jujutsu Kaisen main series. I just want to be satisfied. I just want all my questions answered. Even if I have questions in this series, I want to just have my questions answered and hopefully a good story that doesn't end in some bullshit. But now that we are getting kind of to the end of everything, the big question that the thing that we're going to do at the end of every episode, or at least a lot of episodes, the episodes where we're starting like doing the volume episodes is, do we continue or do we not continue? And I think it's pretty obvious by the way I've been speaking in my language that we're going to pretty much continue with JJK Modulo. I really hope that it's able to deliver. Everything I've seen so far, while I have my skepticism, and there's certain things I'm like, this doesn't sit right with me, but okay, I guess. There are a lot of things as well that I like. I like the pairing. I like the story that we say so far. I love Maru. I'm not gonna lie, I haven't talked much about him, but Maru, I think I brought him up a little bit, but Maru does genuinely bring such a really cool vibe to the whole story and whatnot. Like, I love just the way he acts and his bubbly personality. He's like someone who seems super caring in that sense. I'm scared something will happen to him because those type of characters, something usually happens. But I think Maru's cool. I think Maru is nice. I think the way they're approaching Jujutsu Society is also nice. With like how before the world didn't even know, but now the world's kind of keeping an eye on them and they're regulating them, and they're like seen still as a superpower now. But it's just like, hey, you're a Jujutsu sorcerer, so we're just gonna let you handle that, buddy, because we know we can't do anything against Jujutsu sorcerers. So you go ahead and deal with that. You go ahead and deal with that as well. Like, have your fun, have your tea, do that. So yes, JJK Modulo is effect and continue, which means that we will have JJK Modulo be talked about every month at the end of the month. Maybe, potentially. Maybe. I don't know yet. I'm still working out about how that's going to work. But either we're going to any mangas that we read month to month, that we're going to read continuously, I'm either going to review the next couple of chapters, or I'm going to wait till like a whole actual volume comes out. That way, when I do properly talk about it, there's a lot of content. And that will probably be the end of the month episodes where it's like 3 to 4 stuff we talk about. And to be fair, before this, we would be talking about bigger stuff where we would have more chapters, because a lot of the episodes we would be talking about volumes. And every month we'd be talking about, the volumes of all the stuff that we've been reading. Or at least like 3 to 5 stuff that we're reading, right? So, JJK Modulo is in fact going to be a continue. And so we're going to be adding it to our roster of stuff that we're going to be talking about. We'll pay attention to it. I think there's only supposed to be, 2-3 volumes for this to come out. So nothing super extensive or super crazy that's supposed to come out. So I have hopes. I have very high hopes for this. No, not high hopes. Let me reel it back in. That's my excitement talking. I'm being sensible. I have hope that this will be good. I'm skeptical a little bit. About, just because it's gay, and I know how he left JJK main series and how he feels about the series in general. But I hope that Gay is doing this so he has a new canvas to work with. A new, hey, let me tell at least a little bit of, what I wish JJK was, right? Or at least let me, expand the world a little bit, but tell the story in a more proper way. Now that he has JJK kind of in the books with the main series, he's like, okay, well, let me expand the world, but also get some things off my chest that maybe I wanted to add in the main series that I just couldn't for one reason or another. So we will be doing those updates. We will be following it closely, and we will hopefully be talking about it constantly as these months go on. So with that being said, that is going to do it for us over here at the place, or this podcast. That's going to do it for the Manga Cavalcade. Thank you, everybody, for coming by and listening to me ramble about this manga. Hopefully, we'll get this approved. We'll get all of this stuff done. I'm not 100% sure if we'll get it completely done. I'm hoping it gets approved, and I'm hoping that we'll come back to you for another time. I can't guarantee that this will be a series that will be constantly streamed, but we will see. Thank you all so much for coming by. Remember, I have a main channel where I upload all my stuff. I have a second channel where I do all my Vtuber streaming stuff and my gaming, and I also ramble on there as well. The channel will be hopefully up soon by the time this is up, or at least by the time, the next episode for this hopefully is up. And also, let's give a big thanks to people at the Infinity Cast staff. They're the ones that help me put on the show. They're the ones that help me do all this stuff, set up all these things properly, and do everything super well. So, thank you all for joining. Have a good morning, evening, night, wherever you are in the entire world, and I will see you in the next episode. Arrivederci. Have a good one. Wrong thing. There we go.